Hi, welcome to Matt's Garage. Today I am modifying my valve covers. Some of you might wonder, why did you do that? Because they actually are not as good looking as they were when I started. But I stripped these Vortec valve covers down, and one of the things that drives me nuts is dealing with ignition wire management. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I've had so many boots burn out, wires burn out because they fall onto the header. And I really don't like those looms, which I'll get into a little bit later. So what I ended up doing was welding on tabs with nuts on the back. So I stripped these down, welded on the tabs because I had to strip them down anyway while I had them in bare metal. Put the tabs on, which should help me with wire management on the outside of the engine, and then on the inside I welded on tabs for wiring. So it should help me keep a really nice engine block and keep all of my electrical components up off of the manifold and the headers. So let's get going. I bought these little speaker boxes, little 4-inchers and 2 5-inchers. These are going to go up under the dash, so I don't have to cut into anything or put them in my actual dashboard. They'll just go sort of under the cowl. I was going to make them, but this is one of those things where way cheaper to buy. So that's good. These are the valve covers. And here are my tabs. So what I'm doing is basically made these tabs, and then I'm going to put a weld nut behind it. And I'm going to weld it to the valve cover in strategic locations, so I've got a good place to loom to. One of the problems with these Vortec valve covers, and actually a lot of valve covers, is there's no good way to attach them. So with the Vortec, these are center bolt, so some of the looms like have an arm that comes off the center bolt, but because of the ribs here, like, it has to somehow interfere with the torque on this. Like, you can't convince me it doesn't. And then on the regular ones, which I have regular heads, the valve cover bolts are along the side. That would create less interference, especially I have like spreader plates on there, but they're always like these cheap, made in not here stand style looms with a bunch of plastic and a bunch of chrome that's going to rot out over time anyway. I'd rather have something solid that's painted. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to do a couple on the inside of the valve covers, and that'll allow for a bracket to hold the fuel and electrical or whatever other stuff that sort of runs along the manifold up and out of the way. So pretty simple. You just have to strip these, and they were dirty as heck, so I had to strip them anyway. Used oven cleaner. I was going to do them in the sandblaster, but the problem is the baffles for the PCV valves. There's really no way to get in there. You can sort of peel this top one up and get to the first layer, but there's like multiple chambers. So if you get sand in there and then it breaks loose once hot oil starts going through, that's bad news. So I did this by hand. Now I'd punched these out with the pneumatic for the rosette welds, but I haven't yet drilled out so. Only 14 more of those to do. Okay. Always a good idea to clean your parts with rubbing alcohol before you weld them. Keeps from too much splatter. Helps reduce splatter because the arc isn't catching some random droplet of oil and shooting sparks across the table. I mean, it still happens, but it helps, believe me. And it takes all of like a minute. So I think I mentioned that one of the advantages of this nice table is I can just clamp to it and then weld right on it. I'm just going to show that to you guys. I find that 3 points with these is usually enough. Alright, I got my tabs here, I got my valve covers. Got to get the orientation right. So on the small block, if that's the front of the truck, the fill cap is on that side. And the PCVs are like that, opposite each other. So, you know, if this is the back, I've got my distributor about here, right? And my wires need to go like this. Okay, so I'm thinking about doing one back here for the main, for the back bank. Then one about there for the second from the back cylinder. One just ahead of the exhaust header here for the next cylinder, and then one up front to get down to the forward cylinder there. So something like that, but it's not evenly spaced at that point. So I'm going to measure this up, mark it out, and then get to welding. Alright, keep your fingers crossed that I don't blow through here. I turn the heat down to 3. Turn the wire speed down to 22. You know what, I'm just going to check that on the chart actually. So we're talking about 030, 18 gauge, 3 and 30. Or 1 and 26 for 22 gauge, which is closer to what that stuff is. So I'm thinking 2 and 26. See? Glad I checked. Hey.
What you welding?
My valve covers. Stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin. See, that's instinct right there. Didn't quite go right. I was about to hit it again. I'm gonna stop, clean up my mess, do it right. Okay, so that's one done, and if I'm being honest, it's not an aesthetic improvement, but it is a functional improvement. Alright, so you guys might be on to me here. I'm procrastinating. Where I'm at with the build is, you know, you guys know I finished the frame, painted the frame, and then I spent a whole bunch of time sandblasting my small parts. And then I did the valve covers, which is like, now is not even the time for that, but since I was doing the sandblasting, I just took care of all that too. So what I'm procrastinating is I have to start filling the holes in the body. And that's just a pain. I'm looking over at the firewall. I gotta fill all those holes, fill all the holes underneath. The problem is, you know, underneath has got the rubberized undercoating. So everywhere there's a hole, I gotta go underneath and bzz off all the rubberized undercoating in that area. I'm not going to do the whole underside, but just even doing that little bit is a pain. But, you know, me being me, I'm going to do it right, and like where the Scout plate goes over the shifters, I'm going to do weld nuts underneath, 10 by 24 weld nuts underneath. I'm going to close up all the holes, and I actually have to do something in parallel, which is get my cage mounted up. I'm going to adjust how my cage sits. I'm really not happy with how the cage sits, so, you know, I need to get Mrs. Matt's going to push the truck out, put the cage on, push it back in, so I need help for that. But I'll get to it. I'm getting there. The goal is to have the truck painted by the end of summer, because then the temperatures start going down, and you don't want to be painting cold temperatures. I don't know if I'm going to make it. We'll see. See you next time on Matt's Garage.